Hey, what is up, mortals? It is T-Secret here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 1 of season 1 of What If Deku Was a Sith. I just want to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. Cicadas chirped loudly through the forest. Katsuki Bakugo led Izuku Midoriya happily at the youthful age of 4. Nearby, getting better acquainted were the mothers of the two boys. This was the first proper outing for Inko and Izuku ever since Hisashi had vanished from her life, but she understood why and where he had gone. The husband and wife parted ways without incident, and it was obvious to Inko Midoriya that Hisashi may not return.
It's so freaking hot, Midoriya. How are you not affected by this summer heat?
Bakugo said as he wiped sweat from his brow, only for it to return in twice the amount, whilst the boys approached a log that went over a stream.
No. Gotcha. I don't feel hot in the slightest. In fact, I feel a cool wind coming just from over there, but that's probably because of the stream over here. How are we going to pass it? These are new shoes, and my mom won't want me getting them wet and muddy.
Midoriya said a little hastily. Bakugo could be a bit much at times, yes, but he was the first person to reach out to Izuku when he and Inko moved house close by, although Inko never told her son why they had to move. As the ash blonde jumped up onto the log that could be used as a bridge, he smirked at the sheepish follower of his and attempted to cross. However, at about the halfway point, the sweating Katsuki reached up to wipe his brow again, and then it happened. With a loud explosion emitting from Bakugo's palm, he was sent flying off the impromptu bridge and into the stream. Midoriya widened his eyes and ran for his friend. New shoes be damned. He wanted to make sure Kachan was safe. Midoriya outreached a hand towards Bakugo, who reluctantly took it.
I didn't need your help. Don't tell anyone, promise. Wait! That was my quirk just now.
In his frantic scrambling to get back to his feet and out of the small river, Bakugo pushed his way past Midoriya, knocking the green net into the river and into his rear. Whilst in the water, the boy felt something sharp and metallic poke him in the side. Midoriya reached and fumbled through the stones and mud of the riverbed and found a strange, tiny red pyramid thingy with metal tips. Whatever it was, it looked kinda cool, and the bombastic Bakugo with his new quirk was too busy letting off explosions to even notice Midoriya right now. So much for gratitude, and all these loud explosions were kinda scary. As these negative thoughts swirling around Midoriya's head, he felt his attention being pulled to the strange object he had found, and he felt more and more inclined to keep it. After all, if Bakugo was getting his quirk, why shouldn't Midoriya get something too? Not like Kachan would notice or care either. Eventually, all these explosions attracted the attention of Inko and Katsuki's mother, Mitsuki. After finding out what happened, the two women praised Bakugo and celebrated his quirk. Izuku, meanwhile, got chewed out for playing in the stream and ruining his new shoes, not to mention getting covered in mud and water. Inko was going to continue her rant at her son until she noticed Izuku was uncharacteristically growing more and more annoyed as he listened to Bakugo getting praised whilst he was criticized. Then Inko spotted a pyramid Izuku was running his fingers over, keeping it just tucked inside his pocket. She snatched Izuku's little trinket and told him he'd get it back one day, but that day never seemed to come. Izuku never forgot about that pyramid, or whatever the hell it was. He wanted it through the years. Izuku would often try to break into Inko's private office, but always got caught or couldn't get in because of the increased security measures. He even stopped caring about being quirkless, or caring about heroes fighting villains on TV. He just wanted that trinket. He knew it was in that stupid office. Izuku could feel it. He didn't know how, but it was like a sixth sense. There had to be a way in. Midoriya thought about it as if meditating on what he wanted most. He felt fueled by the fact that everyone in this stupid world got what they wanted. Praise, quirks, relationship, Preferential treatment, friends, free stuff, fame, fortune, infamy? It didn't matter who you were. It seemed like you got more than Izuku Midoriya. As the enraged 10-year-old opened his eyes, it came to him that this small house had an attic. It was where Izuku and Inko stored their holiday decorations and other things they didn't need. A sinister grin came to Midoriya's face as he pulled the cord, opening the small hatch to the dark attic above. Steadily, the boy climbed upwards. He counted his paces carefully, and as the roof sloped down above him, he was sure of it. He was directly above the office room right now. Fumbling around, Midoriya found a saw and began cutting through the old wooden floor of the attic, and by proxy the ceiling of the office. It wasn't pretty, but Midoriya did it. He'd cut a hole so he could jump into the office. Now he needed a way out. Once he'd grabbed his trinket. Rummaging around again, Midoriya found a length of rope that he remembered Inko would use from time to time to tie things down during storms. It'd do for now. After tying the rope to a sturdy beam in the attic, Midoriya gave it a tug. It seemed stable. Time for the heist. The thieving child jumped down and was a little surprised that he didn't feel any pain or anything of the like when he landed. In fact, it felt like he barely fell at all. His gaze was drawn upon the trinket the instant he was in the room. It was sitting there, waiting for him, calling to him from the desk, just mere meters from Midoriya. Wait, why would she leave it out in the open like this? And why would it be so clean and shiny? Sure, it had been years, but Izuku was 10 now, and he knew that dirt doesn't magically disappear unless you clean it off. Then Midoriya turned and was confused at the various objects in here. A bow? No arrows or string, just the bow. A strange knife, too. Okay, getting a little weird here, Mom. What is all this? The trespassing child of Inko continued his snooping. As he looked on in confusion, he found some sort of red hooded outfit. But there was something else in this room. Midoriya felt calling to him. When he looked, it was definitely not what he was expecting. It was that pyramid again, but there were loads of them. Had his mom been collecting them? Was that why Inko never gave Izuku his back? Midoriya was snapped back from his thoughts when he could hear downstairs that the door handle was being jostled. Sure, that door was a little stiff, but his mother never messed with the door that much. Then two voices could be heard, followed by the sound of a loud bang of the door being knocked off its hinges could be heard downstairs.
She just knocked it down. Grab whatever and run for it. Nobody's home.
A gravelly voice bellowed with a hearty chuckle, followed by the annoying groan of another. And what if this place wasn't empty, huh? The second voice inquired as the two wandered upstairs. Have you ever thought about that, you big battering ram?
I hope it isn't empty, 'cause if it is, we broke into a place with nothing in it.
Midoriya could almost feel sorry for the second intruder, but he was more annoyed at the fact that they'd broken into his house and were going through his room at the very moment. Soon a third set of steps could be heard to slowly make its way upstairs. They were gentle, delicate, calculated, and carried anger. Midoriya didn't know how, but he could feel the killing intent from these steps, and they felt familiar. Then the voice spoke up, making it obvious why.
Oh my, I wasn't expecting company, nor one so brutish. Tell me, where is my son?
Inko asked with a kindly voice, but it didn't feel like. No, Izuku could feel the fragile mother act was just that. There was a moment of silence before one of the thugs spoke up from the sound of his gravelly voice. It was the larger, more dull of the duo.
What son? There is nobody home, miss. There's a robbery on the ground or I'll break your bones.
Inko cackled the buffoon of a thug, and the sounds of two bodies thudding against the floor soon followed. But Izuku just made out the sounds of two knives whistling through the air and stabbing into their targets. Did she just... No. Did Inko just kill two thugs without hesitation? There was no way the caring mother could do such a thing. Then again, all these weapons and strange items could perhaps indicate that she could. Fear flooded Izuku's mind, and with that fear, Izuku soon felt a slight twinge of anger. How dare his mother keep this all hidden from him for so long? Whatever. It was time the thief took his prize and left. Inko was only a few feet from the office door, so it's best to just grab what was his and leave. Grabbing the trinket from the desk, Izuku then left from his entry point and pulled the rope back up, whilst covering the hole in the ceiling with a large box.
You have so much to learn about the art of stealth, Izuku. But I must congratulate you on finding a way to seize the Sith holocron from my office. I will allow you inside my office and explain everything to you, my son, once you manage to open that holocron. Good luck.
Inko spoke coldly as she stood in the attic waiting for Izuku to climb up, and turned to face her. Midoriya climbed down the ladder from the attic to the second floor of his home, and there were 2 bleeding corpses that belonged to the 2 thugs. It was initially difficult for Midoriya to not gag as he passed them by and entered his room. However, Midoriya couldn't hold it in, the sights and flashes of blood, the precision of where the daggers had landed. Midoriya rushed to his small ensuite bathroom and proceeded to lose his lunch down the drain of his sink. Honey is a free browsing add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, Kohl's. Whenever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these major sites, click that little orange button and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now, anytime you check out, Honey will scan the entire internet and find coupon codes for you. If there is a coupon code, they will find it. And if there is not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible, and there literally is not one available on the internet. If you install Honey right now, you can save like $50 to $100 on your shopping, doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks. 10 million people use it. 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey. Taking a seat, Midoriya looked at the trinket that his mother called a Sith holocron. Guess she knew even more about these things than she had been letting on, and Inko had been letting it slip she knew something, but this was a whole nother level. Izuku could hear Inko picking up the phone downstairs, and she was dialing someone up. The boy silenced himself and focused on nothing but Inko's voice, and then tried to focus on the voice on the other end if he could hear it. One thing Izuku had noticed is he was pretty good at hearing things, especially if he focused on just that sound.
Hello, Aldera Junior High. How can I help you today?
She was calling the school. Why?
Yes, hello, this is Inko Midoriya. I wanted to call to let you know that I will be pulling my son from your middle school so that he can be tutored from home. Please don't take it personally. It's simply due to family matters that this is the route we have chosen. I hope that is fine.
Inko spoke with such a calm and relaxed tone, but she was doing it again. She was hiding behind that kind, caring, and weak parent facade. Oh, if that is what both you and your son wish, Miss Midoriya. A shame. Izuku is such an astute student, and I'm sure Katsuki will be disappointed his friend will be leaving us too. But if it's for the boy's best, then we can only wish him the best. Wow. Does everyone fall for that act? Then again, Inko had been fooling Izuku for his entire 10 years had been alive, so not like he could judge. Deciding to stop focusing on the phone call, as it was now just boring details, such as when Izuku would be leaving, exactly would they expect him back in future years, and obviously some bureaucratic red tape to do something like this. Izuku focused his attention on how he'd get inside this thing, or if it even could be opened. It looked like it wasn't designed to open, but the fact that Inko had made a deal with Izuku and offered such a tantalizing reward if he can open this holocron thingy. Midoriya pinched at the metallic tips. Nothing. He tried bashing it on his desk. No dice. He threw the thing in anger at his bed, but missed. The sharp middle tip sliced through one of Midoriya's posters of one of the two heroes he found a little bit cool nowadays. Hawks. Typical. Just typical. Midoriya growled as he picked up the infuriating pyramid and stared at it with hate and annoyance. But as he glared at it, the red, crystalline center of the pyramid began to glow brighter.
Is that what you wanted, huh? Me to get pissed off, you dumb red metal tip Dorito? Fine. What else pisses me off? Well, there's Bakugo and how he treated me in school, not to mention his dumbass friends. More like goons.
Izuku ranted at the holocron, which fed off his anger, his fears, his desire for power. Inko silently listened outside his bedroom door, whilst she cleaned away the corpses of the crooks who had broken into her house. She allowed a smirk to spread across her face as she noticed a red glow under Izuku's door. As Midoriya continued focusing on his pet peeves, he turned to the Sith holocron, expecting it to be sat on his bed glowing crimson, but instead it was lightly levitating with the metallic tips had rotated in the air and were levitating a small distance from the main red core of the holocron. Midoriya reached out towards the crystalline core, and the connection was made. Knowledge flooding Midoriya's mind with secrets from someone called Darth Bane. From some kind of sword combat form to lessons on how to harness something called the Force. There was so much information, but Midoriya understood only a portion of it, and was left with more questions on what some, if not all of it meant. But as he awoke from his seeming haze, Midoriya saw the Sith holocron close and slowly land in his lap. His gaze then turned upwards to see his mother casually leaning against the wall of his bedroom.
A deal is a deal. You opened it. You're definitely your father's son, but I'll still teach you a thing or two. But I'm sure you have questions, right? Well, I can't answer most of the ones that came from that holocron. I'll still try my best.
Inko smiled at her son with pride as she offered a hand to help him to his feet. Then she gestured to Izuku to follow her into her private office.
Okay, Mom. I guess my first question is, what's the deal with all this stuff?
Izuku sat with his mother in her office, surrounded by strange objects and weapons.
Oh, well, how should I phrase this? The reason, Izuku, you are quirkless is because me and Hisashi are actually quirkless too. I just pretend my weak connection to the Force is telekinesis. As for your father, he hid his true abilities. Turns out this plant is very easy to deceive when you have the powers of the dark side of the Force with you. Anyway, I am what is called a night sister. I chose to be with my partner as opposed to doing what we traditionally do. As for Hisashi, the name of Darth Diabol. These holocrons used to belong to your father, but he left them for you if you ever showed signs. So I guess they're yours now. As for the bow and the knives, those are mine from my days as a night sister. Same for the armor, but I doubt it fits anymore.
Inko gave a long-winded reply to Izuku's query, but it did at least answer some of his questions about his family and what all this stuff was.
Okay, so where's Dad anyway? Wouldn't he want to train me to be an apprentice or whatever? Like that Darth Bane guy said in my holocron that I managed to open.
Izuku cocked his head at Inko, who held her chin and nodded.
Darth Bane. Makes sense you'd know about apprentices if it's one of his then. As for Hisashi, he left the planet, but he had some contingencies. For example, he left me with a device to message him if you showed promise. But, well, I tried to use it before when I tried testing you, and there was no answer, just some coordinates. So I suppose you're going hiking tomorrow, Izuku.
Izuku was handed a metallic disc that showed him the holographic coordinates that his father Hisashi had left. Izuku collected his stuff for his hiking trip to see what exactly his missing parent had left at these coordinates. It was so far from home and high into the forests and mountains of Japan. Inko also made sure Izuku packed the 10 other Sith holocrons that once belonged to Hazashi, along with one of her old Night Sister daggers. Midoriya departed the household that he had called home for so many years. It was in the dead of night that he left, so as not to arouse suspicions of any neighbors, according to his mother. Wherever these coordinates would lead him would, knowing Hazashi, be the perfect place to train and learn of the dark side of the Force, perhaps even more while staying safely hidden from the public eye. Inko made it clear to Izuku that upon his 14th birthday he should return to her, as this would be the best time for him to return to society and reaccumulate. Midoriya followed the coordinates for miles, eventually reaching a forest and mountainous region. Upon further inspection, Midoriya found he clearly wasn't the only person out there. There seemed to be a wooden cabin. Luckily, it seemed this cabin was far enough from Midoriya's destination. Needing to camp out for the night, Midoriya chose to play things intelligently and camp out inside a cave that was both far enough away from the cabin, but also looking over it just in case anybody from there came snooping around. Within this cavernous cave system, Midoriya chose to meditate on a single Sith holocron before bed. It spoke at length about the achievements and failings of the Sith of the past, from Darth Vitiate to Darth Sidious. Midoriya found himself constantly confused with the need for the constant infighting among Sith lords and apprentices throughout their history. Midoriya placed the holocron to his side, shaking his head and unrolling his bedroll, and rested as best he could, considering his surroundings. Midoriya tossed and turned in his sleep as visions flooded his mind of how every dark lord of the Sith had so far fallen. It seemed the Sith killed each other far more than the Jedi ever had. This was ridiculous. Sidious was no more, and Izuku could not sense or feel his own father, meaning by technicality he was Earth's only Sith, that was certain. Thus, Izuku chose to proclaim himself a Sith, a lord. He'd figure out a name when he got to these coordinates, but right now, as far as Izuku Midoriya was concerned, the rule of two had failed. It was time for a new rule, the rule of coalition. The Sith Order would be rebuilt under Midoriya, and he would make sure the lords of the Sith do not tear each other apart like their predecessors. Daylight was unwelcomed, as the youthful Sith Lord didn't exactly get much sleep last night, but he had to get moving. He was so close now, just about 10 more miles. Izuku had reached the coordinates Hazashi had left him after hours of hiking through a forest and up mountainous slopes to find a clearing. The clearing was just that clear, or at least it was for about 3 seconds. Slowly the ground began to open up, revealing a subterranean entrance to a hangar bay with what could only be described as a spaceship from a sci-fi flick docked there. Midoriya approached carefully and slowly pressed his palm against the door, or it looked like that was the door. Gradually, an opening in the ship presented itself as the platform lowered back underground with the force wielder on it, as it closed itself off to the outside world again. Lights around the landing pad began to activate, clearly acknowledging Midoriya's presence. There were doorways around the place that led off to more underground areas, but the ship was where Midoriya felt guided. Slowly, he entered the ship and found himself presented with an extremely advanced ship, clearly designed for 2 or 4 crew members, so nothing too big. As Izuku walked towards the pilot seat, he heard a metal clanking around the ship, so he swiftly turned to face the visor with some kind of humanoid robot. Clearly the robot, or droid, or whatever began scanning Izuku, and he felt his privacy was a little invaded. So slowly, Izuku reached for his bag, getting ready to pull one of Inko's Night Sister daggers if he had to fend off this bot. The droid took a slightly confused, combative stance, which gave Izuku enough cause to pull the knife and slash at the droid. However, Izuku was grabbed by the wrist and easily disarmed and thrown to the floor. The droid lifted the dagger curiously, and then its mechanical voice finally buzzed to life.
Now it makes sense. Green-haired kid, Night Sister dagger, sensors picking up that bag full of holocrons. God, son of a... Well, This will be a shocker for you, kid. I am your father.
Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all of this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of our YouTube members. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.